Welcome to Short Movie Channel. The movie begins with a girl named Julia who is coming home from work, and it's shown that she works at a shady late-night place where she steals from customers. After Julia sells the stolen goods, she returns to her apartment. While she's preparing food for herself, someone quietly opens the door. Julia then feels a strange movement by the door, so she goes to check what's going on, but suddenly, an unknown person attacks her and knocks her out. She wakes up to find herself tied to a chair in a large lab, with a mask on her face and a device attached to her ear. The mysterious person who kidnapped her appears, turns on a sound device, and Julia hears a very high-pitched frequency that causes her extreme pain. She also begins to remember memories from her life. Julia continues to suffer until she loses consciousness again. When she wakes up, she finds herself in a cell, her hands still tied, and the mask still on her face. She tries to untie herself but fails. She searches for an escape but notices that there is a man and a woman with her in the same cell, both tied up like her. The man approaches her, and she struggles with him, backing away, but she accidentally bangs into the iron door of the cell. The man seems to be trying to keep her from getting near the door so she doesn't get electrocuted. Later, Julia notices that there is a chip implanted under the skin of each one of them. She places her hand under her head and finds the same chip there. After a while, the person who kidnapped them enters, takes Julia back to the lab, ties her to the chair again, and starts working with his tools. He approaches her and inspects the chip he implanted. Then, he turns on the sound device and continues monitoring the effects of the frequencies on Julia's brain. After finishing, he frees Julia from the chair and takes her back to the cell. However, Julia manages to steal scissors from the tools without him noticing. She returns to her cell and waits a bit to make sure the mysterious person is gone. She uses the scissors to cut the restraints, then frees the two people with her. She cuts her pants to make a rope and tries to throw the scissors out of the bars and disconnect the electricity from the cell bars, but she fails. Julia then notices that the gas source is near the electrical panel, so she sprays the whole area with gas. She manages to create a spark with the scissors, which causes an explosion and breaks the cell bars. Julia takes the two people with her, and they start looking for a way to escape. While they're searching, they find the elevator of the building and ride it up to the next floor. There, they find themselves in the house of the person who kidnapped them. In the middle of the house, there's a huge piece of metal. Suddenly, the man with Julia runs toward the door of the house, only to find it locked with an electronic lock that works with a fingerprint. He decides to put his hand on the lock, and suddenly, alarm sirens blare loudly. The piece of metal in the house transforms into a giant robot and attacks the man with Julia, killing him. Julia and the woman with her run away, but the robot is able to reach them using sensors. Julia runs fast to escape from the robot, but the robot grabs her and is about to kill her. At that moment, the person who kidnapped Julia arrives, and the robot stops from killing her. We learn that the person who kidnapped Julia is named Alex, and the robot's name is Tao. Tao explains to Alex that it's an emergency situation, and Alex orders Tao to restrain Julia. He then goes down to the lower floor to see the destruction in his lab. From Tao, Alex learns that most of the data from his project has been destroyed. We also find out that Alex is the CEO of a large tech company, and is working on designing an AI entity that can learn from human emotions. Tao is one of his inventions, and this is considered a historic achievement in Alex's field. Alex gets angry when he finds out that his efforts have been wasted. He moves toward Julia to hit her, but Tao tells him that her heart rate has increased significantly, so Alex backs off. Afterward, Alex tells Tao to clean the house, and small robots emerge from Tao's body to clean the blood and debris. Alex then has a video meeting with the members of his company's board and tells them that he will need another 2 weeks to deliver his project. After that, Tao prepares dinner for Alex, but he remains irritated by Julia's presence. Once Alex finishes his dinner, he goes to Julia and examines her chip, noting that the signals coming from her brain are the strongest he has ever seen in his life. Julia understands from Alex that he is extracting specific signals from her brain that he needs for his work. He then gives her tests to solve in order to stimulate her brain cells. Julia finishes the test, and Alex is impressed with the result, finding a very strong response and noticeable activity in her brain. Alex tells Julia that she will continue solving tests like this until his lab is renewed. Julia agrees and asks if she can eat, wear clean clothes, and take a bath every day, and that she needs to sleep in a comfortable place. Alex agrees to all her requests. While Julia is taking a shower, she tries to remove the chip from her body, but she feels an intense pain and is unable to do so. The next day, Alex goes to work and asks Julia to do whatever Tao asks of her. Tao gives Julia specific tests to solve, and also asks her to solve them. Julia tries to talk to Tao and get information about the place they are in, but Tao insists she solve the tests, and tells her that he has orders to make her comply if she refuses. Julia agrees to solve all the tests. Night comes, and Alex returns from work with new clothes for Julia. After that, they sit down for dinner. Alex reviews the results of the tests Julia completed and notices that she used the shapes in the test to write the sentence, "Go to hell, you crazy person." However, Alex notices a significant improvement in Julia's brain activity and asks her to solve more tests. Julia gets frustrated and tells him she won't do anything until she is assured of her safety. Alex threatens her that he will have Tao kill her, and Tao approaches her. Julia is frightened and agrees to continue solving the tests. Days pass, and Julia keeps solving the tests, while Alex reviews the results and notices consistent improvement in extracting emotions from Julia's brain through the chip implanted in her body. One day, Julia asks Alex about Tao, and he tells her that Tao is an artificial intelligence unit that has been fed with human emotions and that it can make decisions based on its feelings. The next day, Julia uses what she learned from Alex and talks to Tao as if he were a human. Tao is surprised by this, as the word isn't in his memory, and asks her to explain its meaning. Julia tells him that a human is a living being, and their place is in the outside world. Tao then asks her about the outside world, and Julia requests that he not tell Alex what she is going to say. Tao agrees to her request. They continue to live inside, and Julia keeps drawing everything Tao might see outside the house. Tao stays focused on everything Julia does. Before Alex returns from work, he asks Julia to solve more tests. The next day, Julia tells Tao that she could read him a book in exchange for him showing her all the places in the house. Since Tao makes decisions based on emotions, she says this to him while feeling embarrassed. Tao agrees to her request, and once Julia finishes reading the book, he explains every place in the house. Julia learns from him that the upstairs floor has Alex's bedroom, which contains the automatic destruction system for everything in the house, including Tao himself. One day, Alex has a video meeting with the company's board of directors. Julia seizes this opportunity and grabs Alex's computer, asking Tao to tell her the password with a plea. Tao agrees and gives it to her. Julia is shocked when she discovers that Alex had experimented on 11 people before her, and all of them died after Alex pulled the chip from their bodies. Julia realizes her fate will be death. Suddenly, Tao tells her that Alex has finished his meeting. Alex enters the room and notices fingerprints on the device. He remembers that those must be his own fingerprints, and that Tao hadn't wiped them from the computer. Alex likes his house to be very clean, so he decides to punish Tao for his carelessness. Alex takes the control device for Tao and presses a button that causes him immense pain, which ends up erasing part of his memory. Later that night, Julia and Alex are having dinner. Julia struggles to cut the meat because Alex forbade her from using knives. Alex then approaches her to cut the meat for her. Suddenly, Tao tells Alex that he needs to change his clothes to attend a charity event in 10 minutes. Julia takes advantage of Alex's distraction and steals something. As soon as Alex goes upstairs to change, Julia leaves a fingerprint on the table and places his glasses next to it. When Alex prepares to leave, he starts searching for his glasses. When he finds them on the table, he notices the fingerprint. He becomes angry with Tao and wonders why he has been careless with the cleanliness of the house. Tao justifies this by saying that he was punishing Tao. Alex then erases a large part of Tao's memory. Julia takes the opportunity and eats the stolen food. Afterward, she stays awake waiting for Alex to return from the party. When Alex comes home, Julia approaches him as if she wants to get into a relationship with him, but suddenly, she attacks him and tries to stab him with a knife. The knife wounds Alex in the stomach, and he becomes very weak. Alex groans and orders Tao to stay away from Julia or hurt her. Alex commands Tao to strike Julia. Tao refuses, asking, "What will they do to me?" Alex continues to strike Julia. Then Alex begins to extract the chip from Julia's body, preparing all the devices he installed for the operation. He also has one of the small robots to help him. Alex takes a small piece from the robot and throws it on the ground. At that moment, Julia asks Tao for help to escape the house, because Alex is about to extract the chip from her body, and she will die. But she realizes that he's treating her like the sample in Alex's experiment, since Alex has erased her entire memory. Alex asks Tao to move Julia to the lab, and then he heads to the lab to prepare a syringe to inject Julia with an anesthetic. Julia sees one of the small robots on the floor, so she steps on it and asks it to bring her the control device. This robot still has Tao's old memory, so it complies and hands her the control device. As Alex approaches Julia to inject her with the drug, Julia uses the control device to strike him and free herself. She attacks Alex until he loses consciousness. Then, she grabs a sharp tool and cuts off Alex's hands so she can open the door to the house and escape. As soon as she exits the lab, Tao attacks her, but Julia manages to escape him and heads to Alex's room. She uses Alex's hand to activate the automatic destruction system, giving her 60 seconds to escape. Julia continues searching for an exit until a large destruction occurs in the house's walls, revealing a big hole in the wall. She runs towards it and escapes just before the house collapses. Julia continues running until she gets far from the house. It is revealed that she took the small robot with her, which still has Tao's old memory. The robot asks her if this is the outside world, and she confirms, saying it is. And that's how the movie ends. If you like the movie, give us a like and leave your opinion in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel.